Have you ever heard the expression, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? As a mom, I've used it. I have 6 kids and I'd like to tell you about number 5. He is smart, funny, he loves to learn, and he refers to outside as his natural habitat. But by about 7 years old, he felt like he was always in trouble at school. He had anxiety and he had developed an involuntary nonverbal tic. Nobody wanted to sit beside him. Every morning he would beg me not to make him go. And as I got him outside the door, I would pray that the teachers would have empathy and that the kids would be nice. I'd like to tell you someone else's brave story. This spring at the BYU Women's Conference, the General Relief Society presidency invited Sister Livia Haynes to come out onto the stage, who introduced herself as a daughter of God and explained that she was a returned missionary, that she was the young women's president in their ward, that she loved to go to the temple as often as she could, and that she was queer. After that was posted online, I was on forums, discussion forums such as Third Hour, and also phone calls with friends, where I read and heard that people wouldn't have sent their daughter to Young Women's Camp with her. They called her and compared her to polygamists, rapists, and pedophiles. They said that BYU administration was using weaponized compassion, derangement, or that they were delirious for having her on there. They said that the Relief Society presidency didn't have priesthood keys and didn't need to be listened to. Today, I'm going to issue a reminder for all of us to self-evaluate and check for prejudice and bias. As a mother, a sister, a friend, and the first counselor in the Stake Relief Society, I'd like to make an appeal for all of us to be more kind, more inclusive, and less judgmental. Some differences between us are not our choice. Our race, our age, and physical or mental disabilities are not something that we chose. They cause us to look different, to act slower, to do things for different reasons, and they are not something that we can control. But sometimes we choose to be different. We all get to decide how to have our hair. Some of us have piercings or tattoos. Our clothes are totally unique, and the language that we use, even within the English language, are words that we get to decide for ourselves. Our manners and political allegiance are also things that make us different from one another. And what a wonderful thing that we get to be unique, that we get to make choices, that we get to make our own mistakes, and that we're all on our own journey. Some life choices are considered sins. Things like homosexuality or gender identity are controversial as to whether we get to choose them or not. But I have great news. It doesn't matter when it comes to being kind and choosing to love one another. Sadly, unkindness is not uncommon today. Some things are subtle, like sarcasm in a conversation or knowing looks between friends. We see ghosting, bullying, road rage, social media posts, and gossip. Nothing causes me to lose faith in humanity faster than to read the comments under an online news article. There are many reasons that people justify being unkind. One of them is fear. Often we fear things that we decide are different from us or things that we don't understand. Appearances can be deceiving. I'd like to tell you about a neighbor. If you only knew him by appearances, what you would see is dark brown skin, black hair, tattoos on his arms and legs, and he's shaped in a way that my kids call a Dorito. Big muscly shoulders that taper down to his waist. But if you just saw him and the way he looked, maybe swearing at his dogs in his front yard, you wouldn't know the best parts of him. You wouldn't know that he married his high school sweetheart, that he has 3 little girls that he loves and dotes on. My young daughter loves spending time at their house when he's home. He's a fireman who serves the community, and he's the first one over here to help me back up a trailer or fix my kids' bikes. Another reason that may justify unkindness is religion. Canada is currently reeling because of unmarked graves found around residential schools. These undocumented deaths took place over 100 years and were justified by administration and authorities who believed that their way is a higher way. President Dieter F. Uchtdorf has said, when it comes to our own prejudices and grievances, we often justify our judgment as reliable and only appropriate. Pride is another reason, and often we don't see this in ourselves. Did you know that it is well documented in Canadian and American medical journals, such as CMAJ, that different races receive different medical care for the exact same problems? Visible minorities receive fewer corrective surgeries for the exact same condition. They get less effective drugs for the exact same sickness. They're referred less often to specialists, and they have poorer outcomes in childbirth. We need to see one another as the Savior sees us. He taught about the Good Samaritan and being a neighbor to someone, particularly those who don't even like you or may not like your kind of people. There are times that we need to be wise about who we hire to take care of our children or who we decide to marry, but there are also instances where we never need to judge another's character. We can simply involve, respect, and welcome everyone at school, at church, in our neighborhood, at work, or on the street. We can be friendly and fair. In the Book of Mormon, 2 Nephi, chapter 26, verse 33, we read, "He inviteth all to come unto him, and partake of his goodness, and he denieth none that come to him, black and white, bond and free, male and female, and he remembereth the heathen, and all are alike unto God, both Jew and Gentile." It is not our job to judge who is worthy of our kindness and the Lord's forgiveness. Dallin H. Oakes has said, "The gospel is a gospel of hope, and none of us is authorized to deny the power of the atonement to bring about a cleansing of individual sins. Our righteous judgment will be guided by the Spirit of the Lord, not by anger, revenge, jealousy, or self-interest. We can be confident knowing that Jesus Christ goes for the one who is lost rather than staying with the 99. The crowd is comfortable, but the lost needs a kind hand. Recently, President Nelson has posted on social media entreating all of us to be better. To quote him, he says, "I reiterate my call to members of the church everywhere to abandon attitudes and actions of prejudice and to promote respect for all of God's children. This is a hallmark of all true followers of Jesus Christ. Abandoning prejudice must go well beyond what we say at the pulpit. We need to abandon hurtful and insensitive comments in our conversations, in our private messages to one another on social media, and most importantly, in our own hearts. This will happen as we fully embrace the teachings of Jesus Christ, who said, 'Love one another as I have loved you.'" Consider the hymn, "Lord, I would follow thee," where we sing, "In the quiet heart is hidden sorrow that the eye can't see." Consider my young son, scared but heading off to school, or Sister Liv on a stage and being vulnerable, sharing her testimony. Think of one brave enough to attend a sacrament meeting or an activity for the very first time. How will they be treated? We need to decide what hair colors are okay, what lifestyles and which people are we willing to sit beside. How far does charity extend, and when will we decide to end it? Did Jesus really mean to love everyone? I found a fantastic quote from a Jesuit priest named James Martin, who said, "What Jesus never said, feed the hungry only if they have papers. Clothe the naked only if they're from your country. Welcome the stranger only if there is zero risk. Help the poor only if it's convenient. Love your neighbor only if they look like you." If not for our children, our friends, our sisters, and those that we love, consider how you would feel and how you would like to be treated when those around you realize that you are not perfect.